Good afternoon, everybody. Very happy to see all of you here. My presentation will not be neither fun nor this kind of secrecy and all of that, because I'm 100% technocrat. Today, with you, 100% technocrat. That's why, for me, even presentation with these pictures, it's quite a difficult exercise. That's why we will start from the beginning. My presentation, I will start from the very simple question. What planet do we want to live on? On a flourishing planet from the movie of Avatar, or post-apocalyptic, war-torn planet from the movie Fury Road, or waterless dry desert from the movie Dune? And maybe I know your answer. And that's why today we will discuss real existential threats to our civilization and hierarchy of our priorities. And let's start from the beginning. You know that we are quite lucky. We do not need to reinvent the bicycle. There is already 17 sustainable development goals. I do not count all of them. I think you know all of them by heart. And we are lucky that what we need to do right now to concentrate our mind and think about our priorities. We should focus on our priorities and further implement all of them to real life, not to talking exercise. And first of all, I'd like to show you this tree of life. Why we need this tree of life? Only because, remember the glass of water you drank in the morning today. Once it was a cloud. Right now, every breath you take right now here with oxygen, it was some tiny, tiny planktons from the ocean and rainforest. And after, of course, you understand that our mindset, we need to change completely. For us, to create the new policies. You know how all technocrats create policies? First of all, it should be a concept. That's why all together today we will try to create some concept for further implementation all of this concept like a policies. And why I show this tree of life? Only because the tree of life show us that everything in life is connected. If we take one particular policy independently from other one, sorry, it will not work. Everything is really connected. That's why we need holistic approach. And our main idea, of course, today we will not with you together here, not, frankly speaking, really draw some policies. We just maybe chart a little bit our plans and our concept for our real great future. And when we are talking about priorities, we need to understand world's ecosystems and properly value them. And after, we need to really think about priorities. But let's be back to properly value ecosystems. I recommend you to read this book. It's a Mark Carney. It's my also former governor of the central bank. He was the governor of Bank of England. And I recommended this book because you could read even the name of this book, Value Against Values. This book about so-called water-diamond paradox. Water-diamond paradox, it's very, very simple. Valuable water worth nothing. Absolutely useless diamond worth a fortune. That's why we have absolutely need to change our mind. Very simple question to all of you. Do you know the valuation of Amazon company today? Let's think about, it was, in a peak it was 1.5 billion. Let's think it's 1 trillion, sorry, not a billion, trillion. Maybe today it's definitely more than 1 trillion. And do you know the valuation of Amazon River forest with all this oxygen, with need for each of us to take our breaths right now? That's why we have absolutely wrong mindset. And first of all, to start any reforms, any changes, we need to change our mind. And after, we need to deliver this message that values against value. We need to, based on our concept, on our values. But how we will find some priorities, what to do first? And it was, for me, it was quite a difficult exercise half a year ago. What should be the first one? Why we should start from something else? But 24th of February this year, priority for me was absolutely clear. Not only because I am Ukrainian, because priority number one, it's a war. And right now, when absolutely crazy dictator threats to all civilized world by nuclear bomb, it's for all of us, it's priority number one. And I'd like to tell you that even today, it's a very dangerous day for all of us, because today was a real big bang on a Crimea breach. And you remember that Putin promised for all of us nuclear missiles. Not only some of his colleagues told that it will be not just Ukraine, it could be any megapolis of this world. That's why, no doubt, priority number one, it's a war. Because during the wartime, you could not do any reforms, you could not consider anything else, just consider all these dangerous wars. And the second priority, of course, you know all of that, I will not even count that, but remember just recently what's happened. This hurricane, absolutely crazy hurricane in Puerto Rico, after it's Florida, before it was flood in Pakistan. It was also wildfires. I could not count, but it's already extreme. You see that it's already extreme. That's why priority number two, of course, it's a climate. And it's because absolutely obvious that existential matter right now, it's a matter of life and death. It's not anymore fun. It's a tragedy, it's a reality, it's a real existential threat. It's a matter of life and death. And I'd like to show you this graph. When I was born in 1964, the population of our planet of Earth was 3.2 billion. You see, I'm still alive, not maybe even so old, but right now, population as of today, it's 8 billion. So population tripled during my lifetime. If we will be back to the beginning of new era, when Jesus Christ was born, population was just 200 million. In the beginning of 20th century, population was 1.6 billion. That's why you know what's going on. But we will not blame 8 billion people for heating our planet for 1.5 degrees Celsius. We will absolutely not, we will not today argue with the theory of climate change. Even if we know that climate, unfortunately, is changing, it has been changing each 10,000 years. But all of us here really dedicated to save our planet, really dedicated to no pollution, really dedicated no CO2 emission. That's why we are absolutely on the same boat. But main idea for all of us to create the right concept and move forward. And we ask ourselves that world is changing, technology is advancing, but what kind of new policies have we made during last 100 even years? What kind of new policies? Maybe you will recall anyone macroeconomist like Karl Marx. We live in an absolutely different world, but we're still based on old economic theories. And right now, let's shorten our horizon. Let's think about last 15 years. You see, it's a crisis, red line, it's a crisis of great financial crisis of 2008. After it was a COVID, right now it's an energy crisis. And looks like that government and central banks found already some panacea from all diseases. But it's not true, unfortunately not. As you see this picture, all this unconventional monetary policy really was rocket fuel for asset prices. And now we really face the music. And that's why wrong policies led us to bloody war, uncontrollable natural disaster, soaring prices, and creeping inflation. And right now, we will be back and try for you, together with you, find some way out from this cage. And as I told you, we will try to create some new concepts based on our values and priorities. You remember priority number one was a war. And that's why I propose you to consider, will be no solution and decision today. Please consider we need a new concept of United Nations. And I could explain you why. Do you know what is it? It's a Geneva Convention. And it's not bloody spots. It's just seal. But frankly speaking, when we see this Geneva Convention, it's dated 1949. You could immediately understand what I'm talking about. Because I was absolutely shocked to recognize that war is still allowed in 21st century. Geneva Convention, it's only one document. And this Geneva Convention right now only cover all matters linked to humanitarian matters during the wartime. That's why we do not have any one document in the world which really prohibit to have a real bloody war and an aggression. We have no even Hague Tribunal because it was a special Nuremberg process. It also was a special process for Nazist criminals. But we do not have anything right now. That's why let's consider what I'm talking about legislation. The second one, I was just shocked that United Nations was not withdraw country aggressor from United Nations membership. Russia is still a member of United Nations member. And moreover, Russia is a member of Security Committee. Could you imagine with rights of veto for all decisions of United Nations? Could you even consider it's not a fun, it's a tragedy. You remember that League of Nations was disbanded completely after the Second World War, and right now I think it's time for us to reform United Nations or to disband it as well. But if we create a new organization, what kind of organization it should be? Please, each time, each day, it will be your help to this world and to Ukraine and to peace of this planet if you decided what kind of organization. Because if we will gather all together based on the principle of name of country, it will be, again, absolutely, but if we just put one organization based on our values, it's a very good, but what we will do, for example, autocrats against democrats, it's also very difficult, East against West. That's why consider, and it will be for you some food for your thoughts for next few months to consider what type of organization we need. Second will be the new concept of energy. You remember that everybody told us that, oh, fossil fuel energy is so expensive, green energy is the luxury one, it's so... But right now, you see, gas prices, you see, it's not anymore an argument. It's absolutely crazy prices for gas. It's also high prices for oil. That's why I think that we will stop all this discussion anymore. And what else? You know that I propose, of course, we need to do some mix of energy sources. All of them are green one. The first, the biggest one, it's a nuclear energy. Of course, renewables and hydrogen as well. It should be good mixed, but I am really truly believe to nuclear energy. And I'd like to tell you that only recently, European Commission recognized nuclear energy like a green one. You know, wrong policy decision before created all of this cost for us now. Right now they recognized, and only 6th of July this year, recently, 3 months ago, they finally deduct last obstacles for green investment in nuclear energy. So nuclear energy is green, effective, and also cheap. And what I'd like to tell you, do not recall Chernobyl. Chernobyl, it was a bad management in collapsing Soviet Union time. And please do not build nuclear plants and nuclear station on dangerous places like Fukushima, because it was a threat of tsunami, and finally it's happened. That's why a very good mix of energy mixed, and I think it's achievable. But the bad news for us, we still need fossil fuels right now to build this green future. That's why not to be against fossil fuel, be just to streamline all this fossil fuel to generate all these new resources for us, to be a green planet. And it's very, very interesting topic for me, like a former governor of central bank who did the main financial markets and banking sector reforms in Ukraine. It's a new concept of macroprudential regulations. Maybe some of you do not know, but macroprudentials, it's really in the mandate of central banks. That's why I propose to create new concept of macroprudential regulation, incentivize the transition to ESG. Everybody knows what does it mean, ESG, environmental, social, governmental, but it's a slogan, sorry to say that. New macroprudential policy, supervisory policy, and policy of monetary policy could create real incentives for companies to do that, because otherwise, if it will be just this, you will just see all of that in presentation. It will be very, very, but it's not a reality. It will be a hypocrisy as well. That's why the main idea to push private sector to right direction. How to do that? Right policy from central banks through macroprudential regulation. And next is the concept of water supply. It's our planet, guys. The awful droughts happened this year in Europe. You were sitting here, and even in the UK, it was prohibited to switch on some showers. I think it's ridiculous. Our planet, it's 1% of our planet is covered by water. What kind of water supply, new concept of water supply? Think about that. For example, desalination of this water. It's a very cheap and very old technology. We're sitting on tons of water. We are not a planet of dune, which I showed you in the beginning. We are water planets. That's why it's new water supply, of course, new transportation system of water, new irrigation system, new drainage system, but we need to do that today. Not sitting and waiting for next particular drought next year in our planet. Next concept, of course, it's a climate migration. And of course, I'd like to see a specialist in artificial intelligence, because for me, sometimes I think that it's a fairy tale, it's not anymore a reality. Because we have tons of data collected about the climate, about the temperature, about everything, about geography, about all movements, and we still have no even concept for new climate migration concept. Because according to the World Bank, 216 million people will be migrants, climate migrants. My educated guests tell me that it will be more. That's why, sorry, we need real migration, climate migration policy. We need real rules how to do that. Maybe we need to find a real island or maybe territory which benefit from climate change in the nearest future, and understand that this territory will be for new climate migrants. But we need to do something with that. Also consider that. And of course, I even mentioned a global coordinated regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies, for crypto assets. Because a lot of you sitting here prefer maybe some even crypto assets. And I always like to ask you, how many electricity we spent absolutely non-productively for mining of cryptocurrencies? You could you could understand what really very, very powerful energy generation we could create with use of this electricity. But at the same time, I propose to do this global coordinated framework and push all these investments to the right direction, not like a waste of money and waste of time. Because technology itself, it's perfect, it's just perfect, but we need to put everything to the right direction, to productive usage of capital. And I already told you about, and also we need a significant investments not only to cybersecurity, but also to biosecurity. You remember our COVID? You remember what's happened with us? Right now it's biosecurity and cybersecurity. It's real threats for national for national security of each particular country and our continent as well. I could count, believe me, all our problematic areas endlessly. Absolutely, but unfortunately only 18 minutes I have for my trips. That's why I will go to the end of my presentation, and I'd like to show you this picture. You see, it's a recent cosmic expedition of NASA to the moon. They use obsolete technology of 1970. Not even reusable rockets, absolutely old one. Maybe someone will tell me why they need right now, why moon problems right now it's more important than all problems which I already counted before. You remember this also, Elon Musk Mars project, so nice, but sorry, we have problems right now, existential problems on the planet of Earth. That's why stop all this waste of money and waste of time. And also, the main message of my presentation today, stop unproductive usage of capital, resources, and valuable time. And first of all, stop hypocrisy.